Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Every week we talk about success and everything that goes along with it. You'll learn the principles of success, how to achieve success, and learn to overcome challenges that may be getting in the way of success in your life. You'll hear from Bill Knapik, a radio personality and business development expert, along with insight from special guests. If you're ready to find your path to success or take the success you're enjoying to the next level, stay tuned. Successful Living with Bill Knapik is on right now.
And welcome to the show, Successful Living with Bill Knapik. And today, Successful Living with Nelson DeMille, a gifted writer. You must have read his books. He's a New York Times best-selling author of 20 novels. 6 were on the New York Times best-selling list. He is an incredible author, Army veteran. Let's welcome Nelson DeMille. Nelson, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill.
Very nice to have you. And first of all, sir, thank you for your service in the United States Army. We appreciate that, and we're indebted to you for that.
Thank you.
Let's tell people you have a brand new book. I am reading it right now. It is called The Cuban Affair, and what an adventure it is. Nelson, let's tell them about the book.
Yeah, Cuban Affair is set in Cuba, as we might guess, but the action starts in Key West. And, for this book, I created a new character. I had a long-running character named John Corey in my last 6 books. And this character is a guy named Daniel Mac McCormick. And he is an Afghan war vet, born in Portland, Maine, and served 2 tours in Afghanistan. And I worked over a year on Wall Street, New York, and decided once I was boring. And he goes down to Key West to kind of chill out. And he buys a 42-foot fishing boat, so he becomes the charter captain of this fishing boat. And he's kind of deep in debt because big loan on the boat and all that. And he got an appointment in the famous Green Parrot Bar in Key West one day with a man named Carlos, who's a Miami lawyer. And, of course, Carlos is closely associated with the anti-Castro groups. So Carlos goes to the bar, they talk, and Carlos wants to charter his boat for a fishing trip to Cuba, but Maggie's not interested. It sounds a little dicey, and but then Carlos says this is worth $2 million. So Max, not stupid, he realizes this has not much to do with fishing for $2 million, and something to do with something else. So that's kind of the setup. Billy, you've read that part,
oh yeah.
So, it's you got a classic setup in the bar where somebody's offering many multi-millions of dollars to do something that is probably not a good idea to do. But Mac needs the money, and Mac has promised himself after Afghanistan he won't put his life on the line anymore. But of course we know he does. But he doesn't make the decision then. It's later when he meets Carlos's client, Sarah Ortega, who's without as you might imagine, is a 35-year-old good-looking woman, and that kind of tips Mac over the edge, and he decided he is going to go to Cuba after all.
Well, those dollar signs. First of all, the whole idea of Mac being so, and of course the name of the boat is the Maine. That is tremendous. Right. And we find out that yes, he needs some money, and that the bank is part of the owner, one of the owners of the boat. He has it mortgaged in a way. Right there, you capture a lot of people's attention, because so many people, depending what they do, a lot of times they do say, hey, I'm going to check out of this corporate job and do something that may be more fun, more adventurous. So right there's so many elements that bring the reader in. And then, oh yeah, it's in Key West at a bar, a deal is made and danger awaits and adventure. So you're hitting all the components, I think, right at the very beginning of the book as you described.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. I mean, I've been at this 40 years. And, this is my 20th book, actually. I'm celebrating my 20th book, and I've tried things that don't work, like all of us, and I've tried things that work, and I kind of understand my reading public, and I know what they like. They like action adventure. They like a little romance. And they like the other stuff that goes along with the romance. And they like a strong male character. And I think I put it all together in this book, The Cuban Affair.
You really have. And I do want to say before we go any further that you will be here in Houston, Texas. People hear the show all over, especially after it's posted on YouTube. However, at the time of broadcast, if you're listening, Nelson will be here in Houston at Murder by the Book, October 3rd. just a few days away at 6:30 in the evening. That's a Tuesday. Again, Nelson DeMille will be at Murder by the Book Tuesday, October 3rd, right here in Houston, Texas at 6:30 p.m. I do want to say another thing, Nelson. I was looking you up on Wikipedia, and a belated happy birthday to you. You are born
thank you.
August 23rd, and I am born August 26th, so we're pretty close to that.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of, what are we? We're Leos, aren't we?
Well, I'm a Virgo. Maybe that's the cutoff, but
that's right. Right. The 22nd is the cutoff. I'm a Virgo also. So.
Very nice. Well, let's tell people, and it is out there on the internet, but I think for this show, if someone hasn't heard about it, your writing style is so unique, I think. And let's tell people how you write a book. Apparently, you write longhand, and you have a whole system and a certain place that you write these books.
Yeah, I never learned how to type. A lot of guys my generation never learned how to type. I always had a nice lady who typed for us, and when I first started writing, I thought maybe I should learn how to type, but I write longhand. Legal pads with number one soft lead pencil. I mean, that's how we learned how to write in the first grade, and I keep doing it. It works for me, and I have a secretary assistant who can read my handwriting and then puts it into the computer. And I have an area that's kind of totally removed from the world where I have to be when I write. I call it Area 51, and nobody's allowed in there. It's in a small little office building, but has no name on the door, and there's no number on the door even. And I'm in there by myself all day, telling myself stories. And my secretary's in another part of the building. We're not even close together. But that's the way I do it. That's the way I've been doing it for at least 40 years now. It seems to work. I don't see any reason to change it.
That sounds awesome. And, of course, what you're talking about, and whatever people do, we talk about success on this show, challenges, all those things. But whatever we do, the mindset that goes into what we do, and when we find out something that's successful, that works, but I would imagine that just the way you're describing the Area 51 that you work in, the anonymity of it, it sounds like that puts you in the right mindset to be cranking out these wonderful, engaging adventures.
Yeah, and everybody has a different way of approaching, I think, things that are creative. And I speak to other authors. A friend of mine, Mary Higgins Clark, and that's the only author. She likes to write in the morning, and like 6 o'clock in the morning. And she's done by lunch, and she doesn't mind people around or the radio going. And this question I ask a lot of writers too: how do you write? It's all different, and everybody has a different way to approach, their labor of the day. And you just got to find that way, I think, and stick with it.
And do you have a certain time, as you mentioned, the time of writing? Do you have a certain time that you go into Area 51, or you just write different times?
No, I do have a time, but just about noon. I want to be there by noon. I take care of paperwork and the phone calls in the morning, and by noon I'm in lockdown. And that's the way they can get away from you very easily if you mess around with emails and play around with the internet. So I have to be really disciplined, as most writers do. And 12 o'clock I lock myself up. And again, other writers I know have different times when they write. I'm a night writer. I would write late into the night if my wife would let me. But I've written till 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have the energy in order to have my coffee with me, and I can write late into the night. One time I actually wrote to the dawn.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm a night writer. There are other people who are morning writers. Whatever works.
And we are talking with Nelson DeMille, the author of his new book. His latest book is called The Cuban Affair, and you've introduced, as you said, this new character, Daniel Mac McCormick. Tell people, and when we talk about where ideas originate, for as far as this character goes, he's so engaging and interesting. Where did he come about? How did you create him, and where was the inspiration from?
Good idea. Good question. The idea was that one of my characters, I've been doing this 40 years, though, as I said, and one of my characters for past books, I think, are kind of ready for Social Security by now. And I kind of figured out that the reading public or the publishing business, maybe just like TV and Hollywood, has a magic number at about 35 years old. That's a character that they can all agree on. That's a good age group. So I created a 35-year-old, and I didn't know who was going to be at first. And a lot of my past characters were Vietnam War vets, as I was, but I couldn't make this 35-year-old a Vietnam War vet, obviously. So I made him an Afghan war vet. So that was the second element. And I wanted to create somebody who was kind of a patriotic family. He's born in Maine, in Portland, Maine, and all his brothers and his father before him and his father's father fought in virtually every American war from the Civil War on. So I did that, and then I gave him a good education at Bowdoin College in Maine, and then I put him down on Wall Street where he got bored, and that's where we find him. But, you come to that in pieces, trying to decide who your new main character is going to be and who he's going to appeal to. I mean, I think he appeals to men, but the women who've read the book really love this character, so I think he also appeals to women and different age groups, I hope.
Indeed. And the idea, of course, many people make the migration from New York to Florida, and there's something extra engaging about the Florida Keys and also about Cuba and what's going on in Cuba, especially in this book. What kind of research have you done for this particular book, Nelson, as far as the Cuban environment and then how your characters all interact with the character being Cuba in this case?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's something about the Keys. I've been there a few times. I don't really go there a lot, but I've been there, and it was kind of fascinating. That's why I picked Key West and the Green Parrot Bar, which has been there 140 years, which, by the way, got hit by the storm, Irma, but survived, which is as some of the Keys did. And, I went to Cuba, actually, in October 2015, 2 years ago, and with a group. It was much easier to do group travel. It's very difficult to do individual travel to Cuba with all the restrictions. And went there with a group and a couple of friends and their wives, and was kind of shocked at the poverty and also the oppression. And it's a beautiful island, great people. But it's I think why it was so surprising is that it's 90 miles from Key West, 90 miles from prosperity and freedom, and yet there's this island, which I call a holdover of the Cold War, communist island, that's surrounded by freedom and prosperity. And I think that's what I found shocking and surprising, how much repression there really was on the island, political repression, and also the poverty. The poverty was amazing. I mean, the Cubans by law make no more than $20 a month. So you can barely survive on that even in Cuba. There's food stamps, or I should say food ration books. A lot of the economy is black market and barter. It's kind of a primitive, what had once been a prosperous country exporting agricultural goods is now an importer of food. And the prosperity is pretty much gone. Except in Havana, you see the tourism. There is tourism. And, but I had to finish a whole action-adventure novel around what I was seeing, and I try to be fair. I think I was kind of fair in the description of Cuba and what's going on there now, and the two different sides of the issue, which is, do we want better relations? Do we want to open to Cuba, or do we want to be hardline until the regime there grants some freedoms to their people? So, that's the two sides of that issue, and I kind of represented it, I think, fairly in my book.
And backing it up just a second, you said in the book, The Cuban Affair, you talk about the $20 a month that the people get. Let's repeat that. You're saying the average person in Cuba just only makes $20. They're not allowed to make more by the government?
Not even average. It's the law. I mean, if you're a doctor or a lawyer,
oh my goodness,
or an airline pilot, theoretically you make $20 a month. If you work for the government, 99.9% of the population does. The government salary is $20 a month, and you get it from the government. You don't get it from an employer. It's the government that's the employer. So it's mind-boggling to think that there are people who are doctors who, are well-trained, and lawyers, and let's say electrical engineers, you name the profession, are making the same as somebody who's, let's say, pushing a broom in the streets of Havana.
Wow.
So that's the problem. The so-called equality of socialism really totally removes any incentive these people would have. This is why the farms are pretty well deserted, because farmers work hard, and they're only getting $20 a month, so most of them have migrated to the cities and the towns where they get the same $20 a month, as I say, pushing a broom in the streets. They don't have to work out there in the sun 12 hours a day. So, it's kind of destroyed the agricultural industry and destroyed a lot of incentive. And that was kind of very shocking to me that a doctor was making $20 a month. Theoretically, of course, everything else is black market, and people do have do work for others privately, but it's against the law to do that.
So they're trying to supplement their income all the time, it sounds like. Going back to the idea of ideas, let's tell people what you do. Do you have a technique as you're out there in the world, maybe not when you're writing mode in Area 51, let's say, but when you're out there just gathering ideas or something comes to your mind, how do you capture your idea and catalog it and then maybe go back another time to make that something?
Yeah, when I'm finished with a book, I'm usually thinking about the next one, and even when I'm writing a book, if I see something that interests me, maybe I look at the world differently because I'm always looking for an idea, and some things that seem interesting turn out to be, and all of my 20 books have had a different genesis. Each idea came from someplace that was different. One was somebody who suggested an idea to me. Another one was experience I had, and so forth. If you're writing a series character, of course, you don't need a lot of big ideas. You're just continuing the series and with a different, maybe a different storyline. But when you're writing a whole new novel, the novel takes a year and a half, almost 2 years to write. Some cases, if you pick the wrong subject and it's not going well, it's not instant gratification with this business. You can be writing for 6 months and realize that you've made a terrible mistake.
Wow, yeah.
And either try to fix it or cut your losses and just call the publisher and say, it's not working for me and I got to try something different. The tough business. Once you're on the right track, you're okay. But those ideas are all out there. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this world, Bill. And you just got to pick the right one and be open. You got to be open-minded. Things that look like everyday things sometimes have an inherently interesting story in them.
It is an interesting world. There's no question about that. Nelson, say we have about 4 minutes left. What else would you like people to know about what you're doing, your books, and what would you like people to hear with these last few minutes?
Well, I think I do have a lot of fans, and after 40 years in business, I thank them all for putting me on the bestseller list. We had some movie stuff working. One of my books was made into a major film. General's Daughter with John Travolta.
That's right, yes.
And Madeline Stowe way back in the late 90s. And with my John Corey series, there's 6 books in the series, and we're working now on a pilot film with Sony TV and ABC TV together. They've got a script. They're going to shoot a pilot. We just need, what we need now is somebody to play the part of John Corey and his wife, Kate Mayfield. So we're working on that. And one of my older books, which was Upcountry, set in Vietnam, with the same character, Paul Brunner, that was in A General's Daughter. We're trying to get this made into a movie, sort of a sequel to The General's Daughter. We're looking at Travolta, though he's not getting any younger, but we're looking at him to see if we can get him back in that. There's a lot of movie stuff going, and all my books also are on audio download, and they're all ebooks, of course. And I think my next book is going to be actually a sequel to the Cuban Affair, because the early reaction to this book has been so good. Really great reviews and great reader reviews on the internet. So I think I kind of this is one of the few times where I have an idea, that's kind of firm in my mind, which is the sequel to the Cuban Affair. We won't give the plot away, but what happens is when you get to the end, you'll see that there's an opening there for a sequel, a return of my guy to Cuba. So that's about it. And I'm now on publicity tour around the country and kind of enjoy meeting my fans and really looking forward to getting to Houston. I've never been to Houston before.
Oh, wow.
I've been to Dallas many times. And, my first trip to Houston and my first time at Murder by the Book. So really, really looking forward to that.
We're looking forward to having you. And also, people can stay tuned with everything you're doing at NelsonDeMille.net. Again, NelsonDeMille.net. And you can meet Nelson right here in Houston, Texas, October 3rd at Murder by the Book. That's just a few days away at 6:30 p.m. And it's so great to talk with you, Nelson. And as far as when you're in Houston or any other city, I mean, we have tremendous restaurants here. Give us an idea for the last minute or so. When you go to a restaurant, do you have any favorite foods that you look for when you have the adventure of traveling and meeting your friends and getting to go to great restaurants? What do you like?
Well, in New York, I like Italian, but down south, I kind of like I do like the Southern cooking. I spent 3 years in the Army. 2 years of that south in Georgia and South Carolina, and I developed a fondness for Southern cooking, also Creole. I like that.
So, you can get some of that.
In New York, I'll eat Italian. When I travel other places, I try to eat local.
Also, I want to bring up here with the last 30 seconds, the book Radiant Angel with Jonathan Corey as your character. That I finished that about a month and a half ago, and I love that. It was very scary to see what was potentially happening, but a great book. We're talking with Nelson DeMille. Go to NelsonDeMille.net. And as we wind up, Nelson, what else?
Again, really looking forward to Houston. I got friends there. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Looking forward to being back in Texas. So I'm looking forward to meeting my fans in Houston.
Well, we will look forward to seeing you right here October 3rd. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, Nelson DeMille. And thank you again, Nelson, for your service in the United States Army. So awesome to see you or talk with you and see you soon. Thank you for being on Successful Living. Thank you, Nelson. And until next week, check us out at Bill Knapik Radio Shows, the YouTube channel, where you can hear this show again and again. And thanks for listening. And check Nelson out right here on Tuesday, October 3rd, 6:30, Murder by the Book. We'll see you next week.